Why aren't we urban planning with the mindset of wanting to increase travel by bike or by train or by bus?
What's somebody doing in there? Why are you taking such a long time?
In Canada, a ball of burrata is 12 euros. And here it was 3 guys.
I am around people that I love and that love me and that I feel comfortable with, and I am at home regardless of where I am.
You wake up on Saturday, you call your friend, you see what they're doing.
Welcome to Where She Builds,
the podcast where two globetrotting solopreneurs share the real journey of building a life and business on the move.
I'm Shandy, an online personal trainer helping people feel strong anywhere in the world.
And I'm Anna, creator of Your Travel Friend Anna, a global community and go-to resource for those wanting to live a fulfilling and culturally curious life.
Thanks for being here.
Let's dive into this week's episode.
Okay, welcome back everyone to the Where She Builds podcast. I am Anna, Your Travel Friend Anna, joined always in person again for the second time, the second podcast ever, Coach Shandy, aka Shandy. I had a blip there. We're recording live again.
So nice. And in a different position. We're usually at the kitchen table. Now we're here on the couch.
Shandy has the most beautiful, if you're watching on YouTube, she has the most beautiful wooden map that just encompasses all that we're about. So I could not use it.
We had to use it, yeah. And Anna just come back from her hot girl walk. I just came back from my hot girl nap. So we are ready to record, ready to go.
It is the truth of how this podcast is going. And, you know, when I was on my hot girl walk, I thought, you talked a lot about napping, but this is the first time you've napped since I've been here.
No, we napped at the same time the one day. No, because a couple times when you said you were going for a nap, that was around like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I cut my naps off. Like I can't really have a nap after 2 o'clock.
Right.
So usually on Wednesdays when I come back, because it's a hard day of training at the gym, then I'm like, okay, then I'm going to have a little nap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today was one of those days.
And it was okay. She did look tired. And also, I love the phrase from my mom. We've said it before, but you just got to finish your sleep.
Yeah.
It wasn't a nap. You just need to finish. And I feel like you're a little bit livelier.
I'm jazzed now. I had my coffee. I had my nap. I'm ready to go.
Lots has happened in the last week. And unfortunately, I'm also departing ways soon.
Yeah.
Can we just get
It made it sound like you were dying. You're just going to Montenegro. Departing ways. Yeah.
Yes. Because the co-living, my pop-up co-living is starting. When this podcast gets released, I'll be in it.
Yay!
Which is
so
wild.
Exciting.
How does it feel? I'm going to turn this on you, even though it's my project. You've been hearing about it for 6 months.
Yeah.
And doesn't it feel this kind of out-of-body experience that like something's coming to fruition?
I'm so excited to see what you do with it. Like it's...
Me too.
But no, it's so cool though, because I saw it. I feel like I saw it as a baby, like you were just thinking about it as an idea. And now you've put together this whole co-living that's going to be for an entire month. You have different things going on. Like you have, of course, the workouts that we're going to do twice a week.
Yes.
You're also going to do like wine tasting. What else are you going to do at the co-living?
Yeah, we have wine tasting. Just to reiterate, something that was really important to me in building this co-living was building the most sustainable and healthiest lifestyles, because I think sometimes we can just get wrapped in the social aspect of it. And so we booked Coach Shandy to train us, and I think it's going to build a nice schedule for me personally, because it'll get me up in the mornings and look forward to something. And the two gals that are joining seem to really enjoy activity and movement as well. We have a private wine tasting. We'll be co-working from a neighborhood spot nearby, enjoying their weekend activities. And we're also going to go on some small hikes. It's kind of this, I have lots of plans, but it's I want to read the room, read the group, see energy levels. We're attending a conference in the middle of the month as well. Some of the gals are utilizing the location of Montenegro and exploring Albania. I think they're both exploring Albania and or Croatia.
Amazing.
Because it's so close by.
Yeah.
So lots happening, and the group meals and just eating together and doing things together. Maybe a couple boat tours, again, depending on how we're feeling and what our budgets are like. So
it's such a cool location, I feel like, in Montenegro, because the nature there is beautiful. Also, the cities are really beautiful. It's a very unique place. People are really nice. But then it's cool because it's more on the, I don't want to say on the cheaper end, but coming from a Western culture, when you're making Western money, then it's a little bit easier on your money, let's say, to go to different places. So it's so much easier or more accessible to be able to do a boat tour, because I couldn't imagine doing a boat tour in the Netherlands and then also wine tasting and then also doing all these different things. So it's super cool that you can do that in Montenegro. It's a little bit more budget friendly, and then you also get all of those experiences. I think you're going to have a great time in that month. I can't
Yeah.
wait to hear all about it.
Yeah, I think it's coming up in price a little bit, but it doesn't feel like that burden kind of the pricing. So it feels very reasonable and it feels like it's really worth its dollar versus like an inflation of 10 to 20% of just tourism
Yeah.
inflation. So this area seems to be very touristy as well. I mean, I've been there, but just the vacation side of this neighborhood. But I'm so excited. But in bigger news, and if you see my phone, it's not because I'm texting. It's how we keep track of what we do on the podcast, which normally we're looking at our computers, to be
Anna
honest.
says we, but Anna makes notes throughout the week of what's been going on so we can talk about it on the Chitty Chat. So
Yes.
it's great. She's very organized.
And it's been really easy because I've been living alongside Shandy, so I know her life. So first of all, just
Yes.
Shandy ran her race, the dum da dum loop.
We did it. Yeah. Oh, it was so nice. Such a great experience. And also super fun to have you there too, because that was something, I mean, you've ran quite a few events as well. And this was my very first event.
Let's take feud a couple.
Okay, a couple of events. But I feel like you're very experienced in what it takes to run, what you need to do, how to prepare. I mean, this is my very first event running. I am a runner. But
Yes.
you know what I mean? It was just slowly getting into it. I didn't know what to expect. So it was nice to have you there too. And it was, I mean, the Dom to Domloop had a really great bag service. So you could check your bag in before the race and then pick it up. But then we had Anna there, so we didn't even have to worry about chasing after our bag later. Anna was so sweet to carry all of our stuff. And then you were so sweet to just be able to be like, okay, make sure you're drinking enough water, make sure that you're eating a banana here at this time, and make sure that you're taking your gels throughout, blah, blah, blah. So it was nice to have that reminder, and that support was huge because I feel like it was quite a big accomplishment, and it's really nice to share it with people that are in your circle and that care for you. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Really nice.
I mean, I had such the joy in terms of watching two friends accomplish something they've been training for. And I just want to emphasize everything you said. Like, it was my pleasure to do it and with so much excitement. But on the flip side, it was just so fun to be part of an event that's happening in Amsterdam with almost 50,000 runners. And in just this travel aspect of life, it happens once a year. And of all the times I could be in this place. So from this tourist perspective, it was so fun to just see people who are living here or, of course, visiting and doing the run to be a part of it. So I had as much fun as I think you guys did, but I was able to walk a little bit easier after.
Yeah, the walking part was a little bit hard going up and down stairs later. I felt like a little granny.
I didn't witness you both.
We also reached the goal. That was also something because we're talking about pacing wise. And then I set the goal of getting it under 6 minutes per kilometer. And we did it throughout the whole 16 kilometers. So that was something I was really happy about, and that was something that I've been telling myself for months to that was my goal, to get it done, to be able to do that, and we did it, and I'm really happy it's done, but we did it.
I am so impressed by her pacing, and that to commit to that for 16 kilometers, which is 10 miles, is kind of why it's this weird distance. 16 kilometers seems like a weird race distance, but the mini eggs were worth it afterwards, eh?
They were so good.
Nice. Okay, there's been some because we've been working alongside one another as well, you've been diving into some new branding. Is there a new website coming, Coach Andy?
Hopefully soon.
Yes.
Yeah. The website has been built for a while. I just honestly have to jump on it and get the text done. But very different branding. Like, my old brand colors changed everything. So it's just kind of slowly changing everything into a more hopefully a sleeker presentation that makes it a little bit more me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to launching that and to being able to just share that feels more like me, because it used to be like an orange color, or it still is an orange color, and that's not super me. Now it's like nice, pretty purple, and my favorite colors, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels more natural, more like Coach Shandy. So really looking forward to that too.
Yeah, I like the branding, and it was fun because we were working in Canva together and trying to. It's just fun to be able to be like, wait, how can you do this or that? And yes, you are an avid Chat GPT user, as I am a Google searcher, but it's just sometimes easier just to ask a friend and hear it with tone and explanation that's personalized.
Yeah, but I feel like you know so much about these kinds of things. Like I mean, people listening, take a look at Anna's Instagram, take a look at all of her social media. She is so good at branding, so good at creating content that just looks so oh, chef's kiss.
Thanks.
So, yeah, of course, I'm going to pick your brain about it.
Sometimes you don't realize what you're doing when you're in it, but
It looks so good.
Also, Shandy always compliments me. Like, come on, I'm just here to receive the compliments.
But I'll take them. And another fun thing on my end that happened this week was I was hosting what I call a community call. It's part of the Your Travel Friend community. It's once a month, and I pause them in the summer, truthfully, because they always interfered with my summer plans. And I was hosting them on Sundays, which worked really well in the spring. But every time I'd be like the 10K race I had, that's the day it was supposed to happen. And so I've moved them back to Mondays because I also just think I have to take a little bit of a selfish act on this, that it needs to be within what I define my work week. But it was so great because we had someone joining in from Canada who doesn't necessarily live there. They're living everywhere. And someone calling in from South Africa. And then I was calling in from the Netherlands. And these two people were on the community calls in the spring. And so I felt like it was two friends also reuniting on, well, how'd your summer go? And yeah, it was really fun. So community calls are back once a month. Next one's in October, and you got to be in the community to know about it.
I love that you bring people together too, and just like how cool is it to have people from all over the world join a call just to chat about traveling and what your travel plans are, how things have been going, and it's just that makes you feel like you have people in every corner of the world that you can ask questions, rely on, all that kind of stuff. So it's really nice to have that.
Yeah,
you're really putting together a nice community here.
It's so fun. And one of them was really interested in, I heard about this thing like World Backpackers, and I was like, girl, talk to me about it. I've done World Packers. I'm about to revisit a hostel 2 years after my first World Packers. Like, I'm still friends with the host and such. So I was giving her some advice about trying World Packers in her country first. I think that's a really nice way to start it, to see how you like this volunteer exchange experience.
Can you give a little bit of what is World Packers?
Oh, yes. World Packers is a platform. It was started by two Brazilian gentlemen, as far as I understand, that were traveling in a car, and they were trying to find accommodations and exchange work for accommodations. And so that's exactly what it is you exchange your time and resources for free accommodation, sometimes also free food or other kind of exchanges. And it can vary anything from, farming work, housework, housekeeping, receptionist, bartender, social media. It's really expanded into a variety of skills. And it's a lot of the time hostels, unique NGO projects. Like every exchange I've done, I've gotten something out of it, either connections, friends, or a cultural exchange. And in exchange, I have to put some time into it to get that as well. So I just want to reemphasize, like the basis of it is, yes, you work and you get a place to stay.
That you each benefit from it in a certain way. Not somebody is being more parasitic than the other, like
parasitic.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, big word.
Schmoozer.
Yeah. It should be mutually beneficial. And if you're wondering how to make sure that that's the kind of experience you're entering in, reach out to me, because there's ways that you can ask questions from the host, and questions you should ask if you jump on a call with a host, which you should always do a video call. And I've had an experience that didn't turn out to be mutually beneficial, and really learned from that and like, oh, I should have read the flags of like, they just weren't ready to have volunteers yet. So
wow. Okay.
yeah, it wasn't bad. Like everything was safe, everything was fine, but just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So yeah. Anyway,
amazing. Well, not amazing, but I feel like it's good to have those experiences too, because then you can also take. Sometimes when you have great experiences over and over again, then it's easy to take those for granted. But then you have experiences like what you had, and then it makes overall you're able to appreciate things a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a slow week for you, Coach Shandy, which is lovely, as you had a lovely nap and we're slowly podcasting this afternoon. But I know next week is a little bit of ET double hockey stick week for you, because your business fluctuates. But what's so heavy about next week, and why is it all at the same time somehow too?
Honestly, it just kind of fell into that. I guess it's every couple weeks, because I do 3-week check-ins with my clients. The majority of my clients are the 6-week check-in ones. So every 3 weeks it becomes kind of like a crazy week. But next week is going to be super crazy because I have all of the assessments at once. The reassessments come in, and it's just an hour call with my clients, but then there's a lot of back end work too. So it's always, of course, preparing for the assessment, and then we do the assessment that takes an hour, and then after that, then I have to do, or I get to do, a little reevaluation of the reassessment. So I do calculations based on, let's say, like I calculate people's VO2 maxes if that fits into what they want from the course or from the program as well. Yeah, and then I recreate programs for them, kind of check in with those kinds of things. So it's a lot of work. Like for each hour of check-in call, it's probably 4 or 5 hours of extra work. So
Wow.
I'm also I'm getting better at, instead of promising like next day programs, it's more like, okay, you'll get a program by the end of the week or like 5 days later kind of thing. So I give myself a little bit of leeway so that I can take my time to do it and still enjoy it. Because
Mhm.
when I put on such a hard deadline, I start to stress about it and it doesn't feel fun anymore.
Yeah.
So, but it's good. It ebbs and flows, and I like that it's not every single week super crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of fell into that routine of everything happening all in one week, and I kind of like it that way too, because then the weeks like this week, I can work on my website and not have to stress about any reassessments, or I can work on my branding and not have to worry about anything. So it's
Mhm.
nice that way. But
It's about every 3 weeks because you have the middle assessment, and then you have
mhm,
the final reassessment for the 6-week program, because you still
yeah,
have these one-on-one clients happening and nutrition help, and
yeah,
yeah, lots is happening.
yeah,
So
yeah, and still at the gym every week, and
yeah, working in person. And I think
mhm,
it's a good reminder to, even in us planning the podcast, you said, okay, next week's like crazy, can't do it. And so it's
mhm,
nice to have this anticipation and just to keep your boundaries of workflow and what you can take on. And again, I think it's a reminder to anyone who's like freelancing or building something themselves. It's okay that you can't do these, what I call extra projects, or these ongoing things such as
mhm,
revamping a website or building a new product. Make sure you can maintain what you've got existing, and then yeah, a slow week or a week where you're just like, yeah, I've got extra time on my hands, let's like dive into that project that's been on the to-do list
yeah,
for a while
yeah.
too. um which also is a interesting lead into, I don't know if people know I host a co-working club once a week.
I don't think so.
So I'm just fully pitching it here.
Do it. Tell us about it. What is it?
Well, I just thought it was interesting because the co-working club is once a week on Tuesdays. It's called Productivity Pals, and you join online, and the whole purpose is to hold you accountable for whatever task or project you need support with. So
Mhm.
it's interesting you talk about this website thing, because I think in your scenario, it's too late in your working hours, but it's that perfect kind of holding you accountable to get that paragraph done on the website.
Mhm.
Or I've really been wanting to work on my pitch and I never find time. Well, we're going to make sure you find time to work on the pitch. So it's been extremely helpful for me to just like focus on one project that's always, just hasn't gotten done in the day yet. I'm adjusting to hosting it at 7 p.m. versus 12 p.m. or I don't even know, 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. I did it. I don't even know. I
Yeah,
think
8
7.
PM. You did,
Was it
because it's
8
8
p.m.?
hours difference, right?
Okay, maybe it's 7 or 8 PM. It feels late. So I'm adjusting to, okay, what's that? But it's nice because it's like the eat
Yeah.
the frog at the end of the day. It's like, what did I not do? Okay, I've got to get it done.
It's your
So
cow.
it's my cow. Eat that cow. Eat that cow.
No, I think that's great though, because I really think everything in life you need accountability for.
Yeah.
And if you just have an accountability group call that you're doing, everybody's getting the stuff done that they don't actually really want to do. But then you have the pressure from other people saying, okay, well, I'm getting the stuff done that I don't want to do. Now you get the stuff done that you don't want to do. Then everybody's doing all of that. And then it just makes you feel so much better at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? Then you can close your laptop. I mean, for us, because it's later on in the day here in Canada, of course, it's throughout the day, but
Yep.
then maybe it also sparks some productivity as well. You get that thing done and then you're like, oh, I can move on to the next task. And it just makes that flow so much easier.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was what prompted it was when I was working in Canada, starting my day and being like, I don't really want to work. But if you have this call at 11 or 12, that's the start of your day. And that's okay if it's a bit later, but at least it gets you started and you're held accountable, because I'm expecting you to show up. Like I text you ahead of time, I do a follow-up, I track what you're working on in the month, and then it's like, hey,
Cool.
remember what you've been working on this month. And yeah, some people are like job searching, some people are just working on some writing projects. One person had to bake some muffins and was
Amazing.
like, I need to get these muffins in for my kids, and I've been procrastinating it. And I was like, okay, get the muffins in, let's do
I
it. It was really fun.
love that.
So it's really cool. But we are going to talk in today's episode about North America
Versus Europe.
in general. Yeah, North America versus Europe, which it's not going to be a battle, but maybe it's a little.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what comes of it. So we hope you like this episode and give it a listen. And we'll see you next week for the Chitty Chat.
Bye.
In today's episode, we're digging into the cultural contrast between Europe and North America as two people who have lived in both continents and explored a lot of ground. We feel like we have some strong contrasts that maybe you don't know about or you've just never noticed. And then again, you may find yourself relating too much about what we're talking about. I'm joined by Coach Shandy, and we're going to talk about this lifestyle difference between North America and Europe. And so for quick context, we kind of want to give you a recap of what makes us quote unquote experts on this topic.
Experts in a very quote unquote. Yeah. So Anna, do you want to start us off first? Where have you lived? Why would you say that you're an expert in this?
Yes, so I've lived in Canada primarily most of my life in two major cities I call Calgary and Vancouver, kind of two bases I know. I also spent 3 years as an expat child in the Netherlands, and I've been to about 12 states in the US. I've never been to Mexico, so I can't cover that side of North America, but I've also been to 25 of what Google described as 44 to 50 countries are actually in the European continent, depending if you count like the Vatican and Gibraltar, is that another one that's like a country, but it's a small one?
Well, I feel like also Monaco. That's one
Monaco's a
too.
full country, I think.
Yeah, but so is Vatican though.
True. Anyway, I've been to about 25 of them, counting the Vatican. And then sometimes I've been staying there for a few months at a time in different countries. So not fully living there, but have lived in somewhere more than a week's time. And you, Shandy?
Also, remind me to bring back to that because I want to ask you a question about living in certain places. But I feel like we are a good pair here because I have quote unquote lived in Mexico for 6 weeks. I don't know if then you call it living there, but we stayed there for 6 weeks to learn and also kind of like integrate into the society a little bit, like learning the language, trying different things there. Of course, grew up in Canada. And then I've been trying to think about, I think the last 4 years in Europe now, kind of on and off. So yeah, I think that makes us quote unquote experts of living in both North America and Europe and just to see the comparisons there. So that's kind of what we'll talk about in this episode.
Definitely, definitely. And we just want to clarify that we are primarily talking about Western Europe, and coming from a Canadian experience. We know there's some similarities between Western and Eastern Europe. There's some differences, some big contrasts as well. And then obviously US to Canada, there's some differences as well. So we just want to make sure you understand. But there are some small surprises that one of them, the first one we're going to say, is actually a Russian gentleman in Turkey told me about this, which, yeah, just to add some more countries in there. He's like, it's so weird. In Canada, your cashiers or grocery store attendant, whichever you choose to call it, always stand. And I had never noticed that after 3 years of being in and out of Europe.
I feel like there's some things that you just don't notice, and that's one of those things that you come in contact with it almost every day, but you just don't think about it.
Yeah. So that's one of them. A second one, which I was very reminded about, or very recently reminded about living with Shandy, is she's like, oh yeah, can you lock the door? And I just went to flick the lock, as we would say. And in Europe, you have to actually put a key in the door from the inside to lock the door.
But also, I feel like some doors, like our main door here, it locks automatically.
True.
And I feel like that's also not a very North American thing, or from my experience anyways, back at home, back in Canada, we have a doorknob lock
Yes.
for our main door. So it's just you twist the lock and then you don't need to have a key and then it locks itself. Whereas here, you close the door and it's locked. You're screwed if you don't have it. And then our second door to come into our main entrance, because we have apartments here, then you have to lock it yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very different.
But you also said door knob, and knobs don't really exist, like a round handle, just to give a visual for folks. That doesn't really exist in my time here.
Maybe it exists, but it's not like a twist. It's just to grab onto, to close and open. So it's not quote unquote functional in the way that you twist it, but it is there. Like our main one out here also has that. But yeah, I don't know. Now I'm starting to think about it. Yeah.
Lots of differences. Another one is the dual flush, which I have always used this example as like just things in Europe that make sense, the two versus one flush. And it is becoming more popular in Canada, but I feel like it's definitely been a slow thing. And in most homes, you will still find a single flush.
Speaking on that, hopping onto that, the idea of bidets,
Yes.
because I feel like in Europe, they use bidets a lot more than in Canada or North America.
I've never used one.
I'm too scared to. It's like getting an enema. I don't need to have that happen.
I thought as you were sharing that sentence, do I tell if I've had experience or not? And do I ask you? Because it is quite personal. But I would really like to try one. But I feel like, no, I lied. You know what? I did try one. I was staying in Vancouver, and the two friends I was staying with, they had this fancy Japanese toilet. It had a remote control. And they were two dudes. So they automated it to always have dual toilet seats up. And I always had to press the button to put the main toilet seat down. I did try their bidet. I lied.
And how was the experience?
I feel like I still want someone to like be in the bathroom with me and walk me through the experience. And maybe I should have
Is there a
asked them.
manual? Like when you go to use a bidet, can you be like, okay, step 1?
Well, first of all, I thought it was, I don't know, 10 seconds and then it stopped. No, you have to stop it. So I was sitting there for quite some time and I was like, things are going to start hurting.
Okay, next
Next one.
one.
Next one.
Going on to here. In Europe, you have to pay to pee a lot of places.
Just still on bathroom talk. Yeah, in the train stations, at the train station I looked, it was 90 cents, 90 euros.
Lots of times it can be upwards of €1, €2. Some places in London where I've been, it's been €2 to use the bathroom. And yeah, in Canada, I think maybe it's also because culturally people are a little bit, I don't want to say nicer, that's not the correct term, but like a little bit more. Can you help me here?
I think you can go into a Tim Hortons, a Shell station, a Wendy's. You can go to any fast food or gas stations. There's no hesitation. I think because in a formal restaurant, but even if you said, look, I'm on a road trip, can I please just use your washroom? They would say yes.
So to be fair, though, there's lots of places that you can go into, specifically as a female too, and you can say like, I really have to go to the bathroom. You can even show kind of a pad or a tampon or something and say like, I gotta go. And lots of times they're really friendly with that, but there is that expectancy to, you have to pay in a lot of those places too, or they even have barriers that you have to tap your phone to pay and then you can pass the barrier. And that happens a lot at gas stations here.
Okay. I think as well in Canada, you will find a sign if it says washrooms are for customers only. They may resist it through a keypad or a keypad, or what's the other word I'm looking for? Just a key.
Like
you have to get a physical key.
Yeah.
So that's one that's interesting. Ooh, Shandy added a new one to the list that I hadn't seen before we started this episode, paying for water.
That just irks me in a certain way because coming from Canada, every time you go out to eat, whether it be like a fancy restaurant or anything, you get free water. And that's just, I think, something that you should always get is free water because it comes out of a tap. It's essentially free. Of course, yeah, I'm not going to go on that tangent, but of course it's essentially free. Here, there's lots of places where you go to like a subpar restaurant, average restaurant, and you pay upwards of like €5 for a liter of water.
No, we the other day we went to a pub and you said, should I just chug some water before we go? And I was like, just get some at the pub. Like, let's get going. And you were like, you're going to have to pay. And I was like, wait, I want to chug some water too. And we went out for dinner in Amsterdam and it was €7.50, unless my memory's wrong, for a liter of water.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just regular water.
The San Pellegrino was the same price. So I thought I might as well get a bottle of San Pellegrino that probably comes in a glass bottle. It was crazy. Yeah.
That meme where it's like when dogs drink like the sparkly water and it's like, why is it spicy?
No, I haven't, but the tone of your voice.
That's something every time I see sparkly water that just runs through my mind like, why is this spicy?
I'm gonna cry, guys. Her eyes are watering at herself. I'm gonna zoom in on your face while you say that too in the edit. Okay,
it's just spicy
on.
Water. That's okay, tangent-wise, but
maybe babies would say the same thing. Okay, another one we've noticed, and coming back to Europe this time, the windows. I love European windows, and I do think it's a Canadian, we think everything is unsafe and it's going to harm us in some way. So in Europe, they tilt from the top a lot of the time, especially in Western Europe. I found in the Balkans too, a lot had this. I call them German windows in my head. And then they also can open fully. Like, yes, you could step out of the window if you needed to. Whereas in Canada, they open vertically and they're on a crank system, often covered by screens as well for bugs, mosquitoes, etc. So
Actually, that just reminded me as well. When you go to a lot of tourist places here, a lot of things are not like in Canada, everything has signs and they're all set up. It has to be for safety. For example, like when you're going across
train tracks.
train tracks. Yes, thank you. Like in Calgary, there's one train track that's close to the Stampede, and it's just like there's 10 different signs that say train crossing, watch out, train crossing, don't cross here, blah, 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 blah. Here, there's one tiny sign, and if you cross, yeah, that's on your own. That's your fault.
Why do I feel like Canada is like the helicopter mom in
It
general?
totally is. It totally is.
And Europe, like the one
Europe is the distant dad. It's like, well, you're going to learn somehow.
literally in Montenegro, the first time I went there and where I was staying, you had to cross a train track to like get into town. You could go all the way around, but why would I do that? And so I was like, don't tell my mom I'm crossing the train tracks. But then it became so normal that
Yeah.
that was just how you had to get to the grocery store.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's like if you just use some common sense, you'll be fine here. But in Canada and North America sometimes, it's like I always have to think when there's signs, there was one person that is the reason why there's signs. So if you see
Yeah.
a coffee cup, it's like caution, it's hot. There was somebody that probably tried to sue somebody else because it was too hot. And it's just like use your brain.
clearly we're missing. And I think it makes us not as not as aware because we have all these warnings and then maybe we're losing some intelligence. But I'm going on a tangent. Anyway, next thing, light switches being on the outside of bathrooms versus on the inside. This trips me up every time.
I can't say that I like the lights being on the outside because in Canada you have the lights on the inside, right? In the
Yes.
bathrooms. And it makes sense because when you're out here, then when you're in the bathroom, people can just like flick on and off when you're
Yeah.
in the toilet and then it's just like dark. You know what also bothers me is not bothers me, but it's something that I notice a lot just culturally wise, and I don't know, I can't speak for all of Europe, but for the Netherlands I notice this is that when somebody is done using the bathroom, they close the door here. Whereas in Canada,
Oh.
we leave, or my family anyways, leaves the door open so you know that it's open. You know that it's available, right?
Me leaving the bathroom door open like all the time.
No, but I mean, for me, it makes so much more sense. And I can't wrap my head around why people would close the bathroom door because when I first moved here, there were times where I was like waiting outside of the bathroom in somebody's house and I'm like, okay, what's somebody doing in there? Why are you taking such a long time? And then I knock on the door, I don't hear anything. And I'm like, am I going to have to call the emergency services? Like, is somebody okay in there? And then I realize, oh, the door is not locked. Nobody is in there, but it's closed.
Do you think it's an airflow thing? Because one of my next point was in Canada, you often have a second switch or knob to turn on a bathroom fan, if you did some business or it's just steamy, especially after a shower. Do you think there's something with that, with closing the door and like the air circulation?
I don't know, because does that even make sense though? Because then if you have the fan on and the light on,
But that's
I
on the
don't know.
outside. So you just close the door and you can handle it on the outside.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
I can't wrap my head around it, to be honest. It's something that always irks me.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, one that is probably known to anyone listening is that Europeans in general are bilingual, if not tri, quad, quintuple, like polyglots. And I feel coming from Canada, especially, French is not forced upon us in the Western hemisphere, not hemisphere, wow, Western part of Canada. And I just find I'm solo lingual. It's been a pleasure to see how Shandy speaks Dutch here, but that was because you moved here.
Honestly, and it's something that I kind of am sad that Canadians don't have that
Agreed.
chance to do it because I mean when I come here and I say I'm from Canada, people, especially if you're in say Belgium in the French speaking part or if you're in France, people try to switch to French and ask like, oh, do you speak French? Or even here at the
Je parle plus
borders.
français.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, nope, nope, I just speak English here. But it's really I think it's quite sad because it's as children you have such a plastic
You have a
mind.
sponge. You have a
You have a
sponge mind.
Yes. So you can just absorb everything and it's so much easier to learn languages. It's so much easier to learn when you're a kid. And so I think it was kind of wasted efforts growing up in Canada. And I don't know, the mindset shift you see, like you said, maybe not everybody, there's some people that only speak one language in Europe, of course, we're just generalizing here, but it's more the norm to speak more languages, and I so wish that we had that opportunity growing up.
I echo everything you just said. And Duolingo, please help me now. Is there a cultural difference that when you first moved to the Netherlands, Shandy, which I think that could be a whole episode in its own. So let us know in the comments if you would ever be interested in that. Is there one thing about moving to the Netherlands that really was surprising to you versus coming from Canada?
I think, again, generalizing here, but as probably the majority of the population knows that Canadians are known for being very polite, a little sometimes too polite, and then Dutch are known to be a little bit more direct. The biggest one that I noticed was this in the grocery stores, and it again, I think irk is my daily word today, but it irks me, in the grocery store when, like, say, for example, I'm reaching for milk, and I'm pretty sure I've told this story before. I'm reaching for milk, and then somebody else comes in, and instead of using their words, they just bump into you or they just grab the milk and walk away. It's like, could you not wait 10 seconds and could you maybe use your words? Like, did you grow up not being able to use words? That frustrates me. And I know that it's a cultural difference, but I just, again, can't wrap my head around you're having a personal interaction. You're in a grocery store, sharing the space with somebody else. Just be polite. Just say, excuse me, or wait. That's also something that you can do.
I've witnessed this like 5, 6 times in 10 days, and it one time we were and fair enough, if you're looking at the milk a little too long, yes, just say, "Excuse me," but I fully witnessed your partner have someone reach around him, like limbo style around because he was taking too long at the milks and, like, grab their milk, and I just was like, "Why not just say" and I got body checked almost in the
Yeah,
store.
some people body check, and me being as the Canadian, if somebody runs into me, I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But, I mean, I wasn't the one that bumped into them, but I'm still gonna apologize, but then they just give you this dirty look, and again, generalizing, it doesn't happen. There's some very, very sweet people here that would also say, "Excuse me," again, generalizing here, but it's something that I have a really hard time getting used to, and I actually say to Pat a lot of the times when I'm going back to Canada, I'm so excited to have the polite interactions again,
Yeah.
just in grocery stores of when you don't even know people, but you just say, "Oh, excuse me," and then you can even spark up a conversation with people that you don't even know, and here, that's not something that would really ever happen.
Yes, they don't have a lack of manners. It's very well-mannered people here, but just that excuse me. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the podcast. It's your travel friend Anna here, inviting you to join my online co-working club called Productivity Pals. It happens every Tuesday. You can join from anywhere in the world, and it is the perfect opportunity for you to get something off your to-do list that has been on there for way too long, whether it be booking travel, completing a project, finally working on that pitch, or just finally getting that email sent and the follow-up message that you have been procrastinating for probably too long. So join us on Tuesdays. You can find all the info at yourtravelfriendanna.com, and we'll get back to the episode. All right, next we're going to dive into a little bit of the work and life priorities of the comparison. So in North America, work often defines your identity. I do think it's shifting with the younger generation, with the Gen Z. The millennials kind of really shifted it. Before it was like work, 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 corporate, climb the ladder, get the house, the kids, white picket fence.
It's like a
And
check, check, check.
definitely. And productivity and hustle are really praised. It's like, I work so many hours a week, 60 hours a week, but we never talk about the person's quality of life outside of the work hours. And Europe's a little bit different. Maybe you can fill us in on this.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was another big difference that I noticed when I first moved here was that people work to live here. And then in Canada, I felt like people live to work. What I mean by that is that in Europe, the income is just to supplement again, speaking very broadly, supplement the fun things that they're doing, going out for drinks on the terrace or going for a weekend away or doing things that make their lives a little bit more fulfilling. And in Canada, again, in my circle, what I've noticed, especially around the winter times, it's really just you go to work, you work your 9 to 5, you come home, you make dinner, you sit on the couch, you watch your weekly episode of Survivor, and then you sit down, you're done, you check out, go to sleep, do it all over again. And then here I find, again, maybe it's the people that I'm surrounded with, but it's really like we go climbing on the weekdays, we go play padel, we go do different things with other friends, and we do pub quizzes on Mondays. And it's just, there's so many other things to do.
I also found in the Eastern Europe countries, especially in the Balkan countries, that whatever money you make, you spend, which could be a harmful thing compared to Western, where we are emphasized to save our money. So finding this balance in between is, I think, ideal, but life is simple there. You make your money, you spend it, you go spend it on coffees and enjoy the weekend, and then you go back to work and you make your money again. And this kind of simple transaction is really beautiful. Living in Europe, how has your mindset shifted about work? And I think you just touched on it a little bit of how it shapes your social interactions. But one thing that I've noticed is just the way people also work hard, play hard. So the work relationships are clearly work relationships. I've heard this on other podcasts as well. And then your social friends are your social friends. And that it's very simple, and not to confuse the relationships at times, or clearly identifying when one is becoming a work and a social friend.
What I really like here is that they have what I call it, like in the Netherlands, they have it vrijmibo, which is a vrijdagmiddagborrel.
I have heard of this because in Turkey we did a Frammy, which
So
makes no sense, but there's a the owner was Dutch. Shout out
but
Alex.
it's such a great idea because then you kind of blur those lines between work and social, because I mean you spend 8 plus hours a day with the people that you're working with, and of course it's good to have a line of relationships, friendships versus colleagues, but it's also nice to know what your colleagues are doing on the weekends and to get to know each other on a different level, because then it just makes work so much more fun. And so yeah, I think it's a great combination of work and life balance, which then brings everything together again.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. One thing that North America gets right about ambition, though, I feel, is this willingness to fail forward. And I hope I can portray this properly. I think there is less of a risk factor, perhaps, and maybe it's not in Western Europe, but I think our government kind of softens our risk interest. And I'm not political, I'm not into like learning about government systems, but I think we just are willing to try new things. We're willing to shift careers a little bit quicker. We're willing to do multiple careers and play around a little bit more than what I've noticed still Europeans to do. And it could be a generational shift. I don't know, have you noticed this at all?
I think from my experience, it's generational. Because if I look at my parents, for example, they've been in the same job for 30 plus years, but then the friends that I have around me, they change jobs very quickly. Not quickly, but in a way that it's like, okay, this isn't supporting me anymore. I don't enjoy this anymore. Let's go to the next thing. And then it's searching more for fulfillment instead of just being stuck in a dead end job and not enjoying what you're doing. Because I also noticed that a lot in North America too, is that people are staying in a job because it's comfortable, because it's making them enough money to survive, enough money to support whatever they're doing, but they go so unfulfilled throughout the day because they're not enjoying what they're doing. Whereas I find here, of course, again, it happens with some people, but what I notice here a little bit more is that people do try to enjoy their jobs a little bit more. They go in with a little bit more passion, and again, maybe that's the entrepreneurial idea side that I'm surrounded by, but
I think the reason why they're coming in with more passion is maybe because on the weekend they actually did something. They actually lived a life outside of the office or laptop time. You know, office is very fluctuating, and for us there is no office. But I think this idea of you actually had experiences outside while we've been here, people have been running races around outside of the co-working atmosphere I've been lucky to be a part of here in the Netherlands. And so I think, yeah, they actually have stories to tell that aren't associated with work or getting a better job, getting a higher job, going to this conference that's work related. They actually have interests and passions outside of it. Maybe that's why rock climbing has become such a big thing in Canada, especially Western Canada, because people are finally finding a passion outside of work. But maybe it's a little bit too much.
yeah, it's always finding that balance too, right? And it's, I don't know, culturally wise, I feel like in Canada, it's really, we kind of touched base about this earlier too, is that it's almost a badge of pride when you say, oh, I work 60 plus hours a week. Like when I was in university during the summer months, I was working at a pool, and then I was also working as a swim coach. And so those hours, I was working 60 plus hours a week just to try to make the money that I could pay for university. And when I was telling people that, it was really like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm working 60 plus hours. And then you see them like, oh, nice, good for you. I'm working 70 plus. And it's almost kind of like a competition. And here, when I tell people, I was working 60 plus hours to pay for my university, they jaws drop. They're like, "Are you crazy? Why were you working that many hours?" And I'm just like, "Well, that's what it was." And it was kind of like something to be proud of. And yeah, here people are like, "You're crazy. Why are you doing that?"
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And maybe the salaries necessarily aren't better here, but they're better living wage so that you can, again, it's enough for the housing. Everything just maybe balances a little bit better. It's definitely harder, but I feel like in Canada, none of us are making enough, or then we're not spending as well, right? We're not spending to help the economy circle. I don't know why I keep going into like government economy things when I have no clue what I'm talking about. But I also do think it's a badge of honor. And since traveling and becoming nomadic, I've dropped this. And then when I re-enter a Canadian workforce, or I'm surrounded by people who work more and double hours, I can't relate anymore because I've seen the other side.
Well, and that's something that I really appreciate as being an entrepreneur. You can kind of set your own hours in a way. Of course, me being a personal trainer, I have clients from all over the world. And so it's a little bit harder to pick and choose the hours that I work. But I really, really, really try to stop around 6 or 7 p.m. And that's kind of my hard deadline because then I find then after in the evenings, I can shut down, I can decompress, I can do these things. Whereas again, in North America, might be done at 5 p.m., but then because you're not really doing anything outside of the work hours, even when you're cooking dinner, you're thinking about work. When you're sitting on the couch, you're like thinking about work, and you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about work. There's no separation.
Because you have no passions, you have no interests. So I think, yeah, that's the biggest difference. One huge difference as well, I believe, in lifestyle and affects the workflow as well, is homes and the size of homes. And the best example of this is when I recently arrived to the Netherlands again and into Europe and into Shandy's home. She has a beautiful space and it is quite spacious for Dutch standards, I think. But I have bruises all over my body because I keep running into the corners of tables and like cabinets and the bathroom. I like even hit my butt on like the toilet paper holder the other day. And I was like, really? Anna, really? So I just don't think I'm used to things being so tight together. And again, she has an average size home. It's not tiny, tiny. But I think what happens in North America is our home sizes are bigger and it results in us being less social. We don't leave the house. We have no reason to. We can have our gym on one floor or work on a second floor and sleep on the third floor. We have no reason to leave the house in terms of getting more groceries because our fridges are bigger, our pantries are bigger. And
We
I've
have pantries.
Yeah, sorry, pantries exist. There's such thing as a food cupboard. And I also find, though, the weirdness is we have these big homes where we should be able to host people and have gatherings of community, yet somehow we don't. Like, we don't trust our community or our neighbors, and we still try and leave the house, but we just don't do it as often. I know you've lived here for quite a few years. Do you feel this anymore? Your trips back home, do you notice it?
I mean, I think it all circles back to lifestyle too. So in Canada, I think we touched base about this in a previous episode that it's just so much more common to drive everywhere, whereas here, our main source of transportation is by biking, and so you're already
Which
getting
the stereotype is true, and I love it. I freaking love it here.
yeah, like it's just I mean, for example, for me this morning, I go to the gym at 6:30 in the morning and I have a 15-minute bike ride and then I'm fresh. I'm awake because I had to bike ride for 15 minutes, not that I'm stuck in a car for 15 minutes driving somewhere. But yeah, it's just this different lifestyle. I find this lifestyle shift and also yeah, bigger homes, bigger cars, bigger spaces that you have to go to different ways and I don't know, it's a totally different life.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I love being back in Europe for. And folks that are newer to the podcast, I've traveled a lot of Europe and I have really only rented a car myself once. Maybe I've been in places where a friend had a car. I've been lucky enough that you own a car, Shandy, so we could go to the beach a little bit easier. But there is better trains and buses and bikes or walking. And even if you're taking a train or a bus, you have to get to the train station. You have to wait on the train platform. You're not sitting in a car. And this, I think, is the piece that is missing in North America, especially Canada. We are such a big country. We don't have trains to get from city to city. The city transportation is quite weak. I think Vancouver and Toronto are Montreal as well, I feel like, maybe Quebec City also. But my experience is Vancouver and Toronto are the only two cities that really have true city transportation to get you around. A lot of it has to do with weather.
And also population,
That's
right?
true.
Because Canada is so widespread and we have, correct me if I'm wrong, like 30.
35 million, I think we're sitting at.
The Netherlands has 17 million people. So we
In
have,
the size of Calgary to Edmonton.
honestly, it's such a small size, but we have half the population of Canada here, and it makes sense to have such good infrastructure with travel, with transportation, with public transportation because there's so many people. So it makes sense to have an efficient train system. It makes sense to have bike lanes everywhere. It makes sense to have a setup for cars that it is quick and efficient for people to get from one city to the other. Like it makes more sense. There's more money here because of more people, and it's easier here to set it up than in Canada. Again, because Canada is such widespread, way too far distances.
But in living in a city, why aren't we urban planning with the mindset of wanting to increase travel by bike or by train or by bus? Because the time I just spent in Calgary in particular, we are urban developing like so widespread. Of course, we have the land for it, but all we're building is houses. We're not building any train stations. We're not building any bus stations. It's ridiculous.
I'm smiling because you're bringing government back into it again.
God, I know. I know nothing about this, guys. Okay, we need to skip. I think also too a big thing is the food. So here in the Netherlands, because you have smaller fridges, you're going to the grocery store more often, which means that you're buying more frequently, which means you're buying fresher, which means the grocery stores have to replenish things faster because there's not as much storage there. And this circular system, in my brain, makes sense. I don't know if there's part of the system of logistics that I'm missing that maybe someone from the corporate world can tell me. But in my head, it makes a lot more sense that the stores are smaller, which means they have to replenish quicker, which means all the food is fresher. Probably better for your body too.
Yeah, I feel like, again, it also comes to population, right? There's more people here to eat the produce that's available, which makes it a little bit cheaper sometimes and things like that. Like in comparison with grocery prices, I think there's a lot of times in Canada that the prices are a lot higher than here, which, I mean, Canadian dollars versus euros is a little bit.
Let's talk about the burrata. In Canada, a ball of burrata is 12 euros. And here I saw it at the grocery store and it was three guys. I almost bought it just for dinner. Just that's it.
It's crazy. Or like a pack of prosciutto in Hannah, where I'm from. Like it was, I think it was like $18
Oof,
Canadian
oof.
for one pack of prosciutto. And I get it because it's not really a common thing to eat, but it's just here you can get it for 2 euros,
But
3
then
euros.
why offer it is kind of my thing. If prosciutto is not a normal, it's not a local thing, why are we offering it in these massive grocery stores? Like, I think we demand such variety in Canada, but we actually can't keep up the demand and we're having to take from other places. So anyways, interesting feeling. I think one too about social life, if we can touch on that a little bit, is I find, particularly in Canada, again, going to this politeness, is we want to please everybody. We want to do everything. We want to meet everyone's needs, even when we actually don't. So we have a hard time saying no to activities. We have a hard time actually committing to activities like, yeah, for sure, I'll be there on Wednesday. Yeah, let's go to this museum. Let's do that. And we never take it as face value because often it doesn't get followed through. And if someone does follow through, they're a really unique friend. And it's probably someone that you're going to latch onto pretty quickly.
Yeah, you don't know if somebody says, "Oh, we should hang out." You don't know if they actually want to hang out or if they're just doing it out of niceties. But here, when somebody says, "Oh, we should hang out," then they bring out their agendas. They look at, "Okay, what weekend 4 months from now should we hang out?"
Where I will speak like in Bulgaria. I know it's a bit different. At least the local Bulgarians I got to hang out with, they are a little bit less of the planning 4 weeks ahead. I think it's a bit more of a Western hustle, plan the calendar society thing. But in Eastern Europe, I found that they were like, you wake up on Saturday, you call your friend, you see what they're doing. But there's that common understanding of still hanging out on the weekend and that everyone calls everyone else. Whereas in Canada, we don't do that. We assume everyone else is busy, which is so funny because we're all just sitting at our houses. So call your friend, invite them over for coffee, and hang out.
Anna,
Yes.
we're going to do a little bit of a quick fire question and answer. What is one European habit that you hope to keep forever?
I hope to keep, but I also hope to implement if I can, is just being more active, encouraging myself to cycle when I can, to walk when I can, take local transportation. Sometimes, like, I know the closest coffee shop to my base in Canada is 2.5 kilometers away, and I drive it all the time, and I really should just cycle it, especially if the weather's good. So that's one thing I'd like to keep. Is there a North American habit that you'd like to bring into Europe, though, Shandy?
Yes, wearing athletic wear all the time out in public and being acceptable. I
As
miss
she's
that
sitting in athletic
as
wear.
I'm sitting in athletic wear. To be fair, I came from the gym this morning and I didn't change, but I just really appreciate some comfortable leggings and that you can just wear around in the city and you don't I mean, people dress fantastic here, and
Amen.
I'm not a fashionable lady.
We're working on it. Shandy and I have been walking around town, and that is something I'd like to also try kind of to counter your point, actually. I don't want to take athleisure wear, but I want to implement the consideration of how you look when you leave the house. And I'm not saying like hair and makeup fully done, but I do think we're slacking in North America about just not considering how we look when we leave the house to go to the grocery store.
The first thing that comes in my mind is the people of Walmart. So the things that you wear
Okay.
in Walmart is like, could you imagine people wearing that here?
No, no. The Dutch fashion here in the Netherlands in particular
Elite,
is
elite.
cool, calm, casual, yet fashionable. And every woman, just so you know, if I've been staring at you, it's because I'm fascinated by the fashion here and I'm trying to figure out what is it that makes that outfit so cool.
Like it doesn't look it's just effortless. People just put on clothes and they just look good.
We have learned from both systems. I feel that I had a question that actually I think I deleted on our little outline here for the episode is where do you feel most at home if you had to decide?
I always have this cheesy saying that people are my home, not my
Oh,
home.
so
I know,
cute.
I know. But I'm such a big family person, so when I'm
Yes.
around my family, I feel like at home. When I'm around Patrick, I feel like I'm at home. So wherever I am around people that I love and that love me and that I feel comfortable with, then I am at home regardless of where I am. And I think that's also really helpful being a nomad or the past experiences of being a nomad was that I was comfortable in different countries where it could have felt not like home. And I was around people that I really enjoyed. So it did feel cozy and like home.
I love that. That's so cute. I echo everything you say on there. I also feel like any place that I can adapt to quicker. I don't have the partner to feel at home as I move around, but anyone who is familiar to me or any city that I've been in before where I can feel like I can make people laugh, I can be quirky, I can be loud, I can be quiet, and I can wear whatever I want. That's where I feel most at home too. We want to encourage listeners to also question your differences. And if you've lived abroad anywhere, please share your thoughts in the comments on YouTube or Spotify.
Or if you haven't lived abroad and you have listened to this episode thinking that you want to try something different that we brought, maybe if you're listening from North America, you heard something about European standards that you think, oh, why don't we do this in North America? Or vice versa, if you're a European listening to this and you think, oh, you know what? I want to bring athleisure in. Yes.
she's trying to get her team together. I also just if you have any questions, like I think we have a unique perspective on it of wondering why maybe we can do a little research and try and help you understand why things are the way they are. I don't know how well we'll do it
Have some explanation behind the whys.
based on my governmental which isn't a word anyway. Yeah, and tell us what you were taught or maybe what is the word? A stereotype that perhaps has been broken down after you visited a country. So a lot of my stereotypes is people say people are like too direct or mean or like they're unfriendly people. And I think every country I've gone to, there's always been friendly people.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Honestly, it's just, I mean, stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. So there is truth behind it. But there's everywhere you go, I think we mentioned this already, you're going to have a friend, you're going to have something that you just, I like the saying that it's like every stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. I'm
Cute.
just about the corny
I
things
know,
today.
you're just hitting them. You're just hitting them. Okay, well, we're gonna end the episode here. Thank you so much. And if you're watching on YouTube, we're waving
Hello.
because this episode was recorded live in person between Shandy and I. So check us out on YouTube and Spotify or wherever else you listen to your podcast. If you're listening from the Netherlands, we're on Podimo. Podimo, I'm not sure how to say it now as well. I think it's
checking out. I don't know how to
yeah,
say
it's a Dutch platform, all for where she builds. You can check us out on Instagram. And I am Anna at Your Travel Friend Anna, joined always by Shandy at Coach Shandy. And we will see you next week for our normal episode where we will not be together, but we can't wait for that. So have a great day.
Thanks for listening.
Ciao for now.